In psychology, it actually means the study of the soul. So it came about as a bit of almost a competition against religion. Freud was adamantly opposed to all religion. He believed that only the weakest, most pathetic members of society needed a religious faith, which is why psychology and religion now are in such overwhelming clash. They don't have to be. They need not be at all. But this is what we've come to understand, is that we now study the soul purely from a psychology science
behavioral
standpoint.
perspective.
Well, we have reduced the spirit to a behavioral piece. We have reduced the spirit to a mind that then is finite and is mortal. Well, that's what we have done. And that has never really been the case throughout all of human history, that the idea that our spirit could be mortal and finite until now, because we can only measure so much of it. Now we have reduced it to this idea that our spirit is only the measurable aspect of ourself that is present when we are alive. That has never been the case throughout all of human history. Religion has always been the vehicle by which we did understand and measure and even strengthen our spirit. I love this idea of church being a gymnasium for your soul, and perhaps your priest or pastor or leader or whoever it is being a bit of not only a mentor, but maybe even a personal trainer who makes you go through the reps, who yells at you to go through the reps, who's come on, one more, right? That's very much my relationship with my priest, is a spiritual personal trainer. Is definitely the role he has taken on in my life. Is that something that you've taken on with your priest?
In some ways, a lot of times it is a trust-based relationship. There are many conversations that you can have without having them with a priest, because of the way that a lot of our services are structured, because of the way that the practices happen. The very concept of the priest being there as a guide makes you want to envision the possibility of even having a guide. And there's a lot of guidance that you will do yourself. People don't understand that this is not something that you are coached through and you just, go home and rest. Your work never stops. Your growth never stops. Entering into a religious life cycle means you actually never get a break. Right? If you crave that constant improvement, if you're driven by self-motivation, you're going to have something that is going to be relentless in its pursuit for your goodness, for your soul. And only then does it actually become interesting.
That's true. The religious life does not allow self-pacing. You go at the pace of constant growth,
yes,
constant improvement, constant awareness of where you are short. And you are, I would argue, in my relationship with God, you get times of rest, but there are trials. It is not self-pacing in the slightest.
And I like that because that actually puts me in line with many other parts of my life. So when I am parenting, you do not get to be getting breaks as a parent. You do not say, okay, from 6 to 8 p.m., I'm going to pretend you're not my child. Hey, sorry, kid, I don't know you, run away, screw off, do your own thing, don't care if you live or die. You never stop being a parent. You never stop loving your wife. You never stop loving your parents. You never stop loving your friends. And this idea of having to constantly be present must be taught and must be practiced through something that is a similar relationship. Something that watches you and looks over you and holds you accountable endlessly.
Well, and here's something interesting with that capacity is, as a man who has to perform in every arena, as a man who cannot just drop responsibilities, the temptation is still there to drop responsibilities. The temptation is still there to do things that are going to be completely opposed to the well-being of your family or even yourself, right? You will at times be tempted to fall apart. You will at times be tempted to justify. You will at times be tempted to leave. There are plenty of fathers out there who do leave their families. There are plenty of fathers
but they do not escape.
Well, they don't escape, but here's the thing.
But here's the thing, right? People seem to understand, or they seem to think that having faith is optional. It is not. And this is exactly what happens with fathers who run away from their kids, for many people who commit and live in what we define as sin, which is a breach of their soul's integrity. They simply go out and they are endlessly escaping the pain of that rift that exists between them and their actual true purpose. As children, we are born with a desire for love. It is pre-programmed in us. It is something we seek. Like we seek a connection from infancy, and we're wired to be that way. Yes, we can choose to step away from that consciously. Yes, we can be dragged away from that by circumstance or even just lack of knowledge, by ignorance. But being apart from love is a painful state for us. So eventually, everybody's going to have to find a way in which they must be in touch with love, in which they seek love, and in which way they can understand, comprehend, and be a part of that love. And if you do not have religion, then what are you going to be holding yourself accountable to? What is going to be your path? And how are you going to follow that path? And how are you going to reconcile your transgressions?
Well, not only that, but how do you then transmit those pieces to your children? Here's a good piece. How do you verify that your wife is going to be sharing your same values? How do you verify that she's going to be loyal? How do you verify that she's going to work with you to resolve issues? How do you verify any of that? Another young man recently in coaching asked me this. He said, how am I supposed to understand if a woman is being honest and loyal with me? How do I know that she will be behind my back? And I told him, you never will. You will never be able to really verify that she is going to be honest and loyal behind your back. But what you can verify is, does she have a defining set of beliefs that carry on even into her most private moments? And is she truly dedicated to that series of defining beliefs so that you can understand her beliefs and measure her devotion to those beliefs and then trust in her belief in that system? Can you trust your wife in that regard? And that's one major reason that religion is important inside of marriage. If you like this clip, I know you're going to enjoy the full episode. You can watch it right here.